You're listening to a special edition of the Roosters Mania TV Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, for this special episode of RMTV, Roosters Mania TV, Luke and Jordon are joined by a special guest from the Chook Pen. It's his debut podcast, and he's famously known for his special banners. Ladies and gentlemen, Wayne Leong.
Our next guest is one of the most recognisable and loved figures of our Chook Pen family. You'd be hard-pressed to find a Roosters fan who doesn't recognise his bloke's banners that wave win or lose, rain, hail or shine, week in and week out. Supporting the club across the country and around the globe, his passion for the red, white and blue sees him as a regular at any game from our pathway matches through to the elite level.
And honestly, it's fair to say, guys, the Holiness His Pope has missed more Sunday masses than this bloke has missed Roosters games. And while he might not like me saying it, if there was ever a man who was looked up to in the Chook Pen as a leader or a mentor, it would be this guy. So please welcome to the RMTV podcast, Wayne Leong.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
How are you doing tonight, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks for the intro. Definitely, if you're looking at for me as a leader or a mentor, you look in the wrong spots.
Oh, I don't know. I reckon there's a few blokes that
lots of us look up to you.
Look up to you. Yeah.
Don't need to.
But who is Wayne, the man behind the signs? Tell us about you, Wayne.
Well, I'm just a long-term supporter, and so just been very lucky enough to actually go to all the games that I want to recently, and it's one of those things where I don't have kids and don't have a mortgage to worry about at the moment, so might as well do it.
And how did you get into the Roosters? What made you get into them?
Yeah, well, that was 74 roughly. At that stage I was in Taree and was playing junior league, and they were the team to be at that stage. So followed them from there and just stayed all along. It's like you pick a team and you stick with it. Yeah,
that's good. And as lots of Roosters fans know, your banners, they're iconic. But why Stewie and Quagmire? What made you do them?
Well, they're not sort of my banners, so to speak, but I just inheritance, and it wasn't me that designed Stewie and Quagmire. There was we had a working bee in October 2006.
Oh wow!
With a lot of people, and a lot of people that you would know, or people in the Chook Pen would know, like Mario and Michael Littlejohn and Amber and Daniel Pettin.
Tony Pegru, yeah.
Yeah, so we did that basically to prepare for the centenary of the Roosters.
Yep.
And we all went up there and spent 2 days making the banners and painting them and hanging them up. And Mario broke a few needles on the sewing machine, putting them together. But the Stewie was one of those that was done. I didn't do the design for that. And then Quagmire was an inheritance. It wasn't done in 2006. It was done separately by someone else.
Okay.
And then when Julie left to go to Melbourne, she left it behind. By that stage, I sort of like inherited all the banners to take to the games because I had a car and I was going to be all the games. And one day I was handing out all the banners. There was a lot more than we currently have, and I was going to give it to Cameron, which I think a lot of people
Cameron
know.
Holmes.
Yeah.
So you had that banner as well, the Homer Simpson one.
Yeah, I had the Homer Simpson.
That was one of my favourite banners.
Kiss me,
go east. Kiss this, go east. That was one of my favourites of all time.
So I was handing those out, and when I was about to hand Quagmire out, someone said, "You can't do that. You can't give him to that because he must have been about 10 at that stage."
He was young. Yeah. That's right.
So we gave him the Homer Simpson one instead, and then someone else had that giggity for a while. And when they left, because I was carrying the banners, all the banners around, and I ended up sort of by de facto having it.
Well,
Yeah. It actually needs to be redone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's been a lot of running repairs. There's always some duct tape in your bag, isn't there?
Yes, it's it's one of a couple of banners that's going to be redone.
Nice. I was about to say it's been like worldwide. It's been to the UK, New Zealand,
couple of times. Yeah,
made the entrance to LA and Vegas last year.
Yeah, it's been up to. Been up to Darwin. It's been up to.
It's been worldwide.
Yeah.
Tell you what, it's probably got more frequent fly points than I do.
I know it needs its own passport.
Hey, we can try. But something you touched on there, you're talking about a lot of the people that you got with to help you do those banners and that. So you've been a permanent fixture in the Chook Pen for many years. You're one of the most iconic members. You're on TV at most games because of the banners. But what are some of the key friendships you formed? Like, we look at us as Roosters Mania TV, and myself and Luke met through the Chook Pen, and that led to me meeting Preston, Theo, and Benny, our producer. But what are some of the key friendships that you've gotten over the years through the Chook Pen from being there?
Yeah, I mean, like, I could rattle off a list of heaps of different people, but and seriously, and Luke and Joey and stuff like that, but. Like heaps. Like Mario was one of the originals when we were back in Bay 15 in the old. Yeah. So, and Michael Littlejohn, he sadly has passed away now. He's going to be a spiritual person with us, and at all times. And Arthur, he drove me here today since I couldn't quite drive, so yeah.
Thank you, Arthur.
Yes, that's right. He's enjoying himself across the road at the moment.
For those that don't know, there is a pub across the road.
Yeah, but and Sandra and Ashley and that,
yeah.
You've met Sandra, yeah.
There's we've got great relationships where we sit. When I started going to the games, Wayne and Mario were the first ones I remember seeing, and it's great that to this day you can still see the younger generation are looking up to these people.
Yeah, and I mean, well, we spoke about it episode 1. Like, for me, Brian Cooley was that person for me. Right. You know, the original Rooster Man. He will always be the Rooster Man. And that was because looking up. And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to embarrass you a bit, but after Brian sort of stepped away, Wayne was that man for a lot of people. He was that. You were that guy that people looked up to, but you showed us how to support the club.
I still look up to Wayne now, even though I'm taller.
Mate, I look up to him and I'm taller than everyone.
Well, I tell you, it makes me feel really old when Cameron he's
getting married now.
He's getting married.
Yeah.
Like, he used to come to games as a kid, and I used to pick him up and throw him
That's
up.
Right. That's right.
Now he's a bit too big to do that.
Picking me up.
Well, so you touched on it before, you know, the banners have gone around to, the UK and that. You've travelled the globe to support this club, World Club Challenges, things like that. Like, that's impressive. But out of all those experiences that you've done, what sort of sat with you the most? What's resonated with you most that you've done supporting this club and supporting our club?
It's been fantastic because it's allowed me a chance to actually go, travel, explore, see things that I haven't done, but also to get to know people better. And so, I'm not even just Roosters supporters and stuff like that. Like the English supporters and that, they're always been welcoming and stuff like that to the ground. And you go, you turn up there and there's always friendly banter and that. And the atmosphere in those grounds are amazing. Yeah. They just they sing the whole game. It's just they just
don't shut up.
Yeah, don't shut up.
They're like us in the Chook Pen. We don't shut up.
Yeah, but they're fun. They're having a good time. Yeah,
that's so good. And because it's kind of like that EPL factor. Like, you listen to an EPL game and it's chanting all game. So it's awesome that they bring that into rugby league. Yeah, and it's also good that you get to have holidays out of it as well.
That's right. I mean, I can only talk in terms of the World Club Challenge with big stadiums and stuff like that, and the couple of the smaller grounds, even though they don't get the big crowds over in England and that for those things, the crowds are still great. Like I went when I was over there for one of the World Club Challenges and that, I went to watch Salford play because Jackson Hastings was playing there, and it was the standing area behind the goalpost was great. They were all having a great time. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that though. Like you talk about the smaller stadiums still getting big crowds, because there was a conversation a couple of the journos were talking about, it might have been about a month ago, and they're talking about the Super League like dying and not getting fans. But if you're saying that that's happening, like maybe the Super League is surviving on those diehard fans.
Yeah, look, they don't get huge crowds, but the core supporters, that they're still there. Like, and they have, because I suppose because they're playing in the older grounds that is very much like a soccer stadium. So you're going to have, like, it's behind the goalpost standing areas for, like, at our South at, I think it was Warrington Wolves. They've got a standing area in front of a grandstand along the side as well. It's great.
It's all about that atmosphere and creating that atmosphere for the fans.
Yeah.
When you go over there, do they know Quagmire and Stewie?
Did you ever get recognised at the banners?
A couple of them did.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, in Vegas, when we went to Vegas, I took the banner for you, obviously, and they loved it over there. Lots of the UK, lots of the people from England, they loved it.
Yeah, a couple.
They got photos with it and everything.
Yeah,
I guess that shows the stretch of like the NRL as well, that they're seeing you. You know, you're on TV most weeks with those banners, so they're seeing you in these other countries. It's awesome.
A couple of the people did. Yeah.
Mr. Worldwide.
Eat your heart out, people.
That's it.
So, obviously, you said you've been a fan since '74. It was great couple of years. You know, the immortal, or should be an immortal, Arthur Beetson, legendary player for the club.
Yeah.
But you know, since that time, there's been a lot of changes. Like everyone looks at Uncle Nick and things like that. You know, in terms of not even just growth, but just the club as a whole. What have you seen in your time as a supporter? What have you seen change about the club? Good, bad, whatever it may be. What have you seen change that really sticks out in your mind?
In some ways, it's changed from, like, even back in the 2000s, that it was actually the club was more in touch with the fans. It's actually, and we did a lot of meet and greets and did a lot of fan days, and then it became very corporatized.
Yeah. And
it's sort of like this year, I'm hoping and last year it started as well. I'm hoping it's come back towards the fans. I mean, they've started to have like the pre-season fan day. They did one last year at the Allianz and stuff like that. Yeah. And then now they've got the meet and greet up at
Auckland on Thursday.
And they had so they're starting to bring that back, which is hopefully it's something that they keep doing. And one of the best things that they did last year, and I'm glad they continued this year, was they had that autograph passport. I don't know if you guys went to the meeting, the fan day in pre-season.
When they did everyone was lining up to get the autographs and all that?
Yeah, they had a little autograph passport with you open up and you had the photo of a player. And then
I didn't know that. Huh? Really? I didn't know about that.
You didn't get one?
No, I didn't go to the thing, but I didn't know they did that. That's
really cool. That is a great idea.
So last year, when they had it, they originally were supposed to have the NRLW and the NRL at the same time, but because of the day before, it was absolutely bucketed down raining, so they couldn't do it, and they had to change their training session. So it was only just the NRL.
Yeah.
What they did was they had about 6 or 7 tables all around the from goalpost to goalpost, and you just went from table to table or whatever. And they had Red Rooster did something like 5,000 or 6,000 of these autograph passports picked them up, and you open it up and it had a photo of every player that was in the top 30, and they had their player number as well, and that was for the men's and the women's, and they had a team photo. So I got that from last year. This year I didn't go to the pre-season one because I went out to took photos of some of the lower grades earlier, but they they did autograph passports again, and the same thing except just for the NRL. But it was I reckon it's the best things for the kids because
For sure.
how often you get the stuff and you go, oh, I've got to.
Yeah, who's that? And
Yeah.
like I remember because talking back to, you know, you're talking about what used to happen. One of my most vivid memories of being a young kid as a club, and I was about 9 years old, it was 2002. It was when we used to have the preseason fan day at Fox Sports, like right next door, Fox Studios, sorry. And like, it was just, for me as a kid, I was 9 years old that year. We went, you had the table of players, and I just remember going across, you know, going through everyone, and like they didn't have sort of anything like the passport, but it was something similar. But those sort of things, like as a kid, mate, I was in tears in happiness. Like you get to see everyone, you get to meet all your players. It was just such a good experience.
We had the Waverley Bowling Club as well, and the cinema.
But I mean, I don't know. You might be a bit young to remember. They had like they had a pre-season launch at Darling Harbour.
Yeah.
Oh.
Rocky came up on the jet ski.
I was
Really?
I would have been, I think I was like 6 or 7 when that happened. But there's a photo my mum still has at home, and it's literally me like cheering on Rocky on the jet ski, and then she's behind taking a photo. It's
We need to get a
adorable.
photo of this. We need to
Mate,
find a photo of
no one
this.
needs to see a photo of me at that age. I tried to burn them
No,
all.
of Rocky. Of Rocky.
Oh, Rocky, yeah.
I want to see a photo of this.
yeah,
Well, might have to find that.
And they've had 2 years. They had a fan thing up at Luna Park.
Yeah, I went to that.
You
I went
got
with
it
John
there?
and Dad.
Yeah. And so
Oh,
it was
Johnny
like
and
you
Dad.
got on the rides with the players.
Yeah,
and
that was the best.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but it's actually something that I remember is we used to go out to Waverley for the cricket,
Yes.
and they do a T20 game.
Yeah, that's right. The players would play.
They play a T20 because I remember I was just there, you know, as a kid running around just laughing and on the boundary, and Freddie was like, hey, I can't be bothered fielding. Kid, can you come field for me? And I'm like, I'm standing on the field going, please don't hit a ball at me. I'm thinking I'm going to cry. But just like some of that engagement was just, it was amazing.
Yeah, so hopefully that's that. I mean, I think it's gone back to get some of that thing.
Seen a bit more of that come through.
It's like I've always thought where it's like the AFL have done it right. They've got a philosophy of cradle to grave. You get them from when they're babies, and you join them up and
keep them going.
Yeah,
I think as well, like it's like my uncle, he's a diehard Swans fan back from even South Melbourne days, and you're right. Like when he was a kid, he was a South Melbourne fan. He still lives in Melbourne, but he flies up for every Sydney game. He flies around, does similar as you, follows them around. And for him, it's like he grew up 2 minutes outside of Carlton. And he refused to be a Carlton fan because he was a South Melbourne fan. And, like, in the NRL, when you see it, and, like, I'm going to probably use us as examples, like Luke and I and Preston, and we've been fans since we were kids, you know, and we want to be fans for the rest of our lives. It's what we love, the people, the club, everything like that.
Yeah. And that's where hopefully it's getting back to the realising it's not all corporate. So.
That's good, because I think we need to... stay away from that. But you touched on something that you missed the fan day because you were photographing some of the juniors. Now, what a lot of people might not know about you, and they may if they support, you know, New South Wales Cup, Jersey Fleek, Harold, Matts, SG Ball, you don't just travel and watch the first grade boys. You go to as many reserve grade games as you can, as many Jersey Fleek, Harold, Matts, SG Ball, from the time they walk into this club to the time they get to first grade. They've come across you or your camera at some point. What's it like? Obviously, that's a lot of time and travel going to all these games, especially, you know, nowadays you don't really have 2-3 games on in a day. It's just one, maybe sometimes reserve grade if we're lucky. What's it like being so immersed in the club that you get to watch this and experience this, but see the development of our junior talent? Like you look at a guy like Blake Steep and Celesi for Turkey, they're coming through. Taylor Lasalu, they're coming through, and you saw them when they were 15, 16 years old playing for our club. What's that whole just experience and immersion like?
It's funny because what you're talking about, like following the juniors and that, something we used to be able to do because you used to actually have 3 games at the same time. I know in the modern days that probably doesn't people don't necessarily do that because like it's like a lot of time out of their day. People got kids and stuff like that, and that's probably why some of the when they had the under 20s and that, it didn't get a lot of crowds. But you get the experience of actually seeing who's coming through. You get an idea of what the potential is. And you see how they've progressed. Yeah, that's the best part. You go, oh yeah, I remember them when they were kids and stuff like that. And if anything, I think that's what modern day we've lost a lot of.
Yeah.
Because we're just so focused on the NRL. Not that it's bad.
Yeah.
It's just that we forget that there's
The reserve grade.
grade and under 21s and under 19s and under 17s.
The Holden Cup was the best back in the day.
Yeah.
Remember with that 2 games?
Yeah, and I like me, I'm the sort of guy that I'll go and I'll sit there and I'll watch 3 games of footy. I love my footy that much. But I also think about, like, could you imagine, and I'm going to use the 2016 under-20s team as an example, right? Yeah, I don't even need to say anything further. Like, you look at the people in that team, Latrell Mitchell, Joey Manu, Nat Butcher was the captain, Victor Radley was in that team. Like, think
Connor
about
Watson.
Connor Watson.
Well, sorry, he didn't qualify because he didn't actually play the thing, but he was actually young enough.
Yeah, he was eligible.
Yeah, Ben Thomas was at that.
I think one of the Marsh brothers was...
Yes, both.
Oh, no, both, both would have been.
Jesse was a halfback.
Yeah.
And Ben didn't
Walk-on?
play.
Ben was a bit of a...
Yeah.
Momorowski played 5'8".
Yeah.
Who else was there?
Satilli there. A little known name, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's brother, Johnny, was there.
Yeah.
Johnny was there.
Yeah. Craig Garvey was the captain and the hooker. Yeah.
Because I think him and Nat were co-captains.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Nat got, I think, the NYC Player of the Year.
He did, yeah. And he was a big part of why we won that grand final against that Penrith team. But, like, you talk about that. Like, imagine getting to watch those guys when they were 19. And, like, when you're 19, you've got the talent. You probably don't have the brains. Some of the stuff you would have seen that season watching them would have been incredible.
That was an awesome... Our first grade weren't good.
Yeah, no.
But that was actually a great year for us to actually follow the under 20s and that. We had to play 3 games, win 3 games to make the grand final. First, we had two games we had to actually play in Canberra. I think the first game we played Cronulla in Canberra. That's because you play to try to schedule with and then the second game we played in Canberra. We played Canberra in Canberra, and the third game we played back at Allianz, and then we made the grand final. Like we made the trip down to Canberra and all the other games with Sandra Ashley. Sandra.
Sandra. She's a good friend.
Yeah. So we drove down there for those games, and it was just absolutely awesome. And then it's and the atmosphere that those kids, especially when we were down at halftime, but we were absolutely down and out.
Yeah, and to our fans, if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. Please go watch it. It's something that's always sit in my memory. Like, I think we were down 26-6 at halftime, and we came back to win. Like, it was one of probably the best games of our club's history.
It was Rads. If I remember, it was Rads got the ball off to Johnny Tuivasa-Sheck, got to the end, and he was gassed. Yeah, he was muscle cramp in his leg and stuff like that.
And he just kept pushing through.
Yeah.
Oh, we've had some luck with our juniors.
But what is Wayne's weekly roster? Because I know you go to training sessions as well and do photography. Tell us more about your photography.
I don't do many of the training sessions now because I just can't get there.
Yeah.
So, but I've always been taking photos and stuff like that of them. But I was lucky last year to be able to get a pass for the lower grades, so I've taken some of the photos for there. and this year hopefully I keep it extended.
Because you do the
Hopefully they'll
glebe
let
as
you do it
well.
again.
I do glebe, yeah.
Glebe, yeah.
Because glebe are a theatre club for the Roosters as well. So
That's right.
they've got the Ron Massey and the Sydney Shield. So they've been affiliated for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So any of the New South Wales Cup players that don't get chosen and they need some game time, they'll go down to Glebe Ron Massey.
Nice.
Some of the Jersey Fleet players need some game time, they'll go across the Sydney Shield.
Yep.
But it's actually not quite a case of you just go play with it. It's a case of they've got a point system that each player has number of points based on how many games they've played in the different competitions. So
So you can't just stack a team.
Yeah.
New South Wales Cup's knocked out. By the way, boys, we're taking the entire New South Wales Cup side. They're playing Ron Massey now.
Yeah.
Imagine rocking up to that game.
Yeah. So it's like, there is, although by the time you get to the finals, I believe what happens is if a parent or the senior team is still around and playing the finals, then they can send players back down and stuff like that.
Interesting.
I mean, it's the whole idea is, and Glebe has provided some players up to the New South Wales Cup as well when they needed to, and then
Awesome.
they've had a few Roosters players who've played it, come out and played retirement for them. Like they've had Kane Evans last year, and they've
That's
got
it. I saw that. Big Kane.
and there's a tall, big red fellow.
Dylan Napa.
Yeah.
Dylan
Oh,
Napa.
yeah.
Yeah, he played.
He's playing for Glebe this year, isn't he?
He played. It was round one on yesterday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Yesterday, and he played.
Yeah, nice.
Interesting. But Wayne, other than the Roosters, I've seen you at Hanson Park many times, and we all know, everyone that knows Wayne knows that he loves his Newtown Jets. You're a regular at Hanson Park. You're always attending. From a young age, I've seen you there. Tell us more about the Jets. What's your opinion on them returning in the NIL one day?
Ooh, yeah. Now look, I still love the Jets, and I still go to their games when it doesn't clash with the Roosters.
Roosters first.
That's it.
The red, white, and blue over the blue and white any day.
I mean, it's with them. It was a case of I didn't really follow them until they became affiliated with the Roosters.
Yeah.
Became
I
our.
was going to ask that. Is that where the link came
Yeah,
in? They
that's
became
it.
when they were feeder.
And I admit the first year I wasn't didn't go to a lot of big games. I sort of thought should be a Roosters
Team. Yeah.
but I got used to them. The people there are great. They always made you feel welcome, and they were, no matter what it was, they made all the players welcome. They made all the fans welcome. So it was a friendly atmosphere, and I was talking to Arthur Beetson one day behind the goalpost.
That would have been an inspiring experience on its own.
And it was great, and he was sitting there in a Newtown Jets t-shirt, and he says, so you got one of those on the Roosters? And he said something to me that resonated ever since. He says, if it's good enough for the players, it's good enough for me.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, sort of like they're a very old-fashioned club.
Yeah. It's
They
an
don't
old
have-
school stadium as well, like old school footy
It
ground.
is. Well, they're in the process of modifying it and upgrading it, which is changing the character a little bit. But they don't have a Leagues club to support them. They basically rely on gate receipts and stuff like that. Yeah. The reality is, as much as a lot of people actually would love them back in the NRL, I can't. For them, I don't think they could do it as a standalone. They have to be they'd have to be
Like the Perth Jets or something like
yeah,
that.
and they'd have to actually be a relationship like that, because financially, to be in an NRL team now, it's just like you're talking.
I mean, your salary cap alone is just south of $12 million. That's just your salary cap for your players on field.
Yeah, well, I think under the NRL franchise agreement, the NRL will provide most of that salary cap anyway. But it's the other thing, the staff cost, it's the travel cost, it's all that stuff. And I know that they have Singo as a backer and that, but it's just not going to, I don't think it's financially viable for them as a standalone. But they still should be more than, they still would have a go as a New South Wales Cup.
Yeah, and because I believe they're the feeder for the Sharks at the moment.
The Sharks at the moment.
So
I'm not sure how long they may.
I think there's another year or two to run on that. But it's interesting. Like, you look at foundation clubs now. Obviously, we've been around. Newtown's been around.
The Bears, yeah.
The Bears. South Sydney got kicked out, but they were around in 1908.
Yep.
You still got kicked out for 2 years. Don't forget
Newcastle.
that. Newcastle. Yeah, well, I was going to say that because a lot of people forget Newcastle.
Yep.
How good is it when you go to a New South Wales Cup game and you see that heritage of rugby league? Like, we all think about the past of rugby league and what it means to us. A lot of people think of just the NRL era.
Yeah.
But, obviously seeing these Newtowns, North Sydney Bears still around that were there in 1908 when the game started, as to an extent as we know it.
Yep.
What's it like? What's the history like? Do you feel that when you watch those teams play? Do you think of that? Or is it just sort of it's cool, they've been around for this many years, but you don't really dig into it?
I probably don't dig into the history too much.
Yep.
I know the clubs have been around and I know a little bit about the history, but not huge history buff like that.
Yep.
But it is great actually having those old colours around, because the reality is that's what rugby league was all about.
Yeah.
It's back to the tradition for them.
And it represents the traditions of the game and what it used to be, and it brings us back to old school days. It
does, and it brings it back to the old area. We used to be suburbs and area bounds and traditions and stuff like that.
Sunday afternoon at the footy, have a beer and have a drink on the hill, watching your favourite, bloke brickies from the week.
I mean, they at the New South Wales Cup level, most of them are still working during the week, and then they'll finish it. They'll finish at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Turn up at training, turn it and get up again, and back at the shift again. I mean,
Taylor Lasalu. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of talk, and Robbo said in his press conference,
12 hours later,
mate. Look,
less than 12.
Do you see the photos of that?
I've played some footy in my life, and I can tell you now, when I was working in like plumbing stores and like even as a manager where I got to sit at a desk, if I just played 80 minutes of footy, or let's be honest, I was a front row. I'd never played more than 50 unless I had to. Look, we don't go in overtime, us front rowers. But I could not imagine having to play as a front rower against Penrith Pack at Combank Stadium, and then 7 a.m. the next day, you got the shovel going, like
on the tools.
How impressive! Like that is old school footy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the Jets won in 2012. One of the classic players, one of the legends of Newtown is Kurt Cara. He was a hooker around that time, and he's a Boilermaker by trade.
Oh wow!
So he would actually be bloody hot, and with all the stuff, and he turned up at training. He played the preliminary final against the Bulldogs. They absolutely thrashed the Bulldogs, which were the unbackable favourites for the thing, and he almost ripped his earlobe off.
Wow.
He got got the doctors that went up to the hospital, got it stitched up, and sort of like went back to work and went back and played in the grand final against Balmain.
As you do.
Well, sorry, it wasn't Balmain. It was Balmain, Ryde, Eastwood.
Yeah. Pick the jungle.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Wayne, you mentioned before a prelim final. Now you've been around for many grand finals that the Roosters have been in.
Yeah.
What is your favourite grand final you've experienced of the Chooks of all time?
Oh God!
Look, you got 75, 2000, 2003, 4, 5. There's a lot to pick from.
We've got 2 minutes.
Mate, I don't think I
19, yeah. I mean, they all had different parts, different reasons. 2018 to me was special from the point of view, the history about Cronk. And stuff like that.
coming over and his shoulder. And
and then also 2002. It's so long since we won a like.
Well, 75 was the last time before that.
2000, we played the grand final against Brisbane in August because it was because of the Olympics and we opened up we were the test event for the stadium.
For the stadium.
We lost that game. It was an unlimited interchange day, and so I bawled my eyes out.
I think my dad did too. We were watching the highlights the other day.
To be fair though, like, and I remember Luke Ricketson saying this multiple times in interviews that the Roosters grand final was the week before in the prelim, and they celebrated like they won a grand final. You know, similar to Parramatta when they lost to Penrith in the grand final, like they celebrated the grand final when they hadn't even played it yet.
That's it.
And I think that was the thing. When it came to 2002, a lot of those guys were still left over from 2000. So they were like, boys, settle. We've got to play, the grand final still. And it came out on the field.
Yeah, I mean, and also when you think about 2002, it wasn't just an easy run into the grand final. I mean, yes, you had the Bulldogs issue and stuff like that, but we started. I think we won the first game and the 6 games, but we lost everything in between. Then we went on a 5 or 6 winning streak, but Ricky Stewart, we had a lot of injuries and that, and we were lucky. We were very lucky at that stage to have the halves of Freddie and Lammy to hold us together.
Well, it's funny you say that, but like talking about how bad our start to the season was that year, because we lost round 1 to Manly. Yeah. We actually beat New Zealand in New Zealand round 2, and then lost like the next 4, and then go on to win the premiership. Like we were written off by round 5.
Yeah. I mean, we had so many injuries. We had a lot of players come in that play the one game or whatever. Ricky Stewart changed our defensive style.
Yeah.
So
So you've said about your favourite grand final, right?
Oh, I don't know which is
We're gonna test you a bit more here.
No,
right?
God, my memory stuff. So don't.
No. Is there ever a season, and I'm talking a whole season, that just stands out to you as a fan, the greatest season of Roosters football you've ever been able to be a part of, to watch, to see live? Is there one season that you sort of go, it just jumps in your head, like you go, 2018 was just the year?
I like 2013 was great. 2002 was great.
Yeah. And for different reasons as well, though.
Different reasons as well. And, I mean, they're
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you have a look at it, they were.
That's good. But talking about like now, 2025, how does Friday's night win against the Riff? How does that stack up in your all-time favourite wins?
That is up there.
Who expected that?
Honestly, It felt like a grand final in the stands.
It did.
It felt like a grand final win.
We all sat together in the same bay, and one thing I want to mention before, the way I knew about Wayne growing up, at any game, you can hear him from the other side of the ground saying, "Go Roosters," or "tackle."
Yeah, I was going to say tackle. You always hear the tackle.
And Friday night, Wayne's voice, mate, I think that got us over the line.
No.
Honestly.
But how was that win? Like, was that the best you've experienced?
I don't know whether it's the best, but it's certainly up there.
Yeah.
Definitely in the top 3.
I mean, it's sort of like, it's probably lucky that that my vision isn't great at the moment, and I end up having the portable AM FM radio, so I could work out what was going on. Because if I could see it, I tell you what, I probably would have a heart attack. I can tell you now, Channel 9 had a thing where they actually replayed the last minute, which is and I've watched it about 10 times. It's on my thing, and I'm going. I know we won, but my heart's still racing. I'm still like having nervous sweats, even though I've watched it about 10 times.
Well, I tell you what, look, I can tell you now, you talk about having a heart attack. Luke and I were sitting next to each other, as we do, and I think we were both so nervous we were drenched in sweat.
Man,
But
that body,
especially
that was so hot there Friday, wasn't it?
But also,
it was humid, yeah.
There's one thing I want to say about that last play that you're talking about. Brighton Tottle scores that 1,000 times out of 1,000.
Yep.
Honestly, 5 metres out with the ball, no winger has ever been able to stop Brian Tottle.
The Toops.
But Daniel Tupou, mate, we spoke a couple of weeks ago about Minnie and Teddy. They age like fine wines. What about Tubes? That tackle was pinpoint perfect. Wrapped him up, pushed him. Tottle puts the ball on the corner post and loses it.
He drops it into the corner post.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm not going to lie. When that happened, my thought just went to pray that Cleary misses the kick. And I love our boys, and I'll back our boys, but Tottle not scoring in that situation, like that just showed you the level we were at on Friday night and how badly we wanted that win.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Toops. Toops is probably the most humblest player.
He is off the field.
Such a gentle giant.
I mean, to me, Toops has got to be one of my favourite players ever because you go watch him. He'll score a try, even as the most spectacular try.
He's so humble.
He just gets up and just turns around and walks away again. Just
done my job.
Yeah, or someone else scores a try. He's like over the moon.
He puts more energy for everyone else's.
Yeah.
It's like 2013, and Preston alluded to this a couple of weeks ago about the air tubes over the Wolfman. But yeah, he scores it. Gets up with a smile on his face. Yeah, boys, let's go. Yeah. It's like he just goes so well.
Yeah. And the same thing is he doesn't get a lot of credit for his defence.
Yeah.
I mean, must be about 3 years ago in the final against the Titans.
Oh, the one on the Gold Coast, the last minute.
Yeah, we're Gold Coast.
You were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were there. I remember seeing that.
I still remember, was it Philip Sami didn't pass the ball?
Yeah, that's right.
I can't remember who the centre was, but they were just yelling at him. But Toops just didn't give up on that play.
Yeah, he was just like, he held his nerve and,
So would he be you mentioned before, one of the favourite, would he be like the favourite player, your favourite player of all time?
Does he get the mantle or does someone knock him off?
Oh, look, I haven't tried to work out who's the favourite, but he's certainly up there. Like,
Yeah.
And
definitely getting a medal.
Yeah, he's just so humble. He's just quiet and just gets up. I mean, 6-time all-time tries.
Yeah, he's actually, so he's tied, after the weekend, he's tied Andrew Eddinghausen as 6 all-time with 166 tries. So, look, he may not get to Ken Irvine's 212, but I tell you what, to score 166 tries in the NRL, you've had yourself a heck of a career, mate.
Yeah.
Well,
before he re-signed and it was like, will he, won't he, and all this, I sort of like ran into an airport in transit. Might have been the Magic Round or something. And I said to him, you got to resign. You got to sign for 2 years, and I don't care what happens after a year and a half. You can retire after that because I reckon he'll hit his 300 games in about a year and a half.
It'll be interesting to see if he manages to get past Jared.
Yeah, but can you think about it? I think we're the only club at the moment that's had 300 game players.
Yeah.
3 of those were one club players. If Toops does it, gets 300, we'll be the only one with 4 one club players.
Yeah, and I think that will be pretty much like top of the list in terms of how many 300 gamers we've got.
Yeah, and he's like,
he deserves it. He deserves
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
Well, Wayne, you've seen the Roosters, the good times, the bad times, the ugly times. But this year, I know lots of fans are saying we've lost a lot of our players. You've seen it come and go before. Where do you think the club goes from here with our season? We've 1 win, 1 loss. Where do you think we go from here?
I think it's only going to go up. I mean, there are a lot of people at the moment want us to be great like we always, and we're still great. I mean, there's clubs that would give their right arm to have our record, but the reality is we're in a situation where we've got to bring some of our players through. They've got to develop their own their own style, their own things, and they've got to learn the thing. And they're going to shock a hell of a lot of teams like Penrith.
Yeah.
We
We saw that 5 guys who had played less than 5 games of NRL.
that
how good was that?
That was just pure enthusiasm, and that's what we need for this period. I mean, because it's. I actually said that I expected them to be 7 for 8.
Yeah,
I'm
same as you.
I didn't expect them before, but I thought they had a very, very good chance of being 7 or 8 because they were actually going to shock a lot of players.
Lot of clubs.
A lot of clubs.
Yeah.
And it hasn't changed. I mean, what I'd love to do is if you want to talk about what I'd like to see is Sam come back fitter and stronger in July.
Yeah.
But also, I'd love to see him get some game time with Sandon.
Yeah. That could be a potentially dangerous partnership, those two.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, we can't keep chopping and changing. We're going to buy someone or what? We've got to make a commitment there in terms of we believe in these players. We've got to let them to actually develop that concept.
Yeah, grow and become the players that they're going to be.
And they're all gonna, with the exception of a few players, if the players that come up now, they're gonna have good patches and bad patches. You have a look at Joey Manu and Latrell.
Yeah, both got dropped back to Wyong.
That's right. So they're not gonna. No one's gonna be perfect, but they're gonna. But the part of the thing is their struggle of actually learning how to do it. And you have a look at Sandon. Sandon's actually, if you look at it, he's pretty well been fast path. He's been a Central Coast boy, but he's actually hasn't even played in our. I'm pretty sure he's never played in our under 21s or 20s.
He didn't play under 21s. He played for the Central Coast Roosters, and then literally got thrown into New South Wales Cup.
Yeah, and he went to the Bears.
And the Bears.
And then
when the Bears were our feeder.
So we've shown a lot of faith in him, and reality is he's got a great kicking game. He's got that talent.
I'll be honest, I think he's actually repaid a lot. Like you look at the Manly game, you look at the game on Friday night against Panthers. He's had a lot more good in our jersey than he has bad, and I think a lot of people focus on the bad and they forget about how good he's been.
And the other thing with him is you don't necessarily need a flashy player all the time. You need someone you need like a chess player and you need a checkers player.
Yeah.
You can't have 2 checkers players or 2 chess players.
Yeah, the game's not all physical. There's a mental side to it.
And I think he's actually he's got that ability to build the game, to actually understand where the opportunity's there.
Yeah.
Well, Wayne, it's no secret that I've been in the chook pen from a very young age. From the days I used to come up and ask Wayne for a banner, a flag. But
you still do that.
still do that. That's it. But I've gotten to know you more than our friends at the footy. To the stage now, you've become like family to my family and I. And today has given all our fans of an insight who Wayne, the famous Wayne, is.
No, I don't know about that.
But I have to ask you something.
Yeah.
What is one footy fact we don't know about the famous Wayne Leong?
Well, you know what? Let's make it easier. One fact of life that we may not know about you. What's something that all the fans just might find interesting about Wayne?
Okay, you have me stumped now. I'm sort of lucky to be retired and just follow my team around.
Hey, it's a great retirement plan.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, it's definitely on my retirement plans if my wife ever lets me do it.
Yeah.
But look, it's no secret that many of us know you as the man that holds the banners. Some people don't really know you. They just see the banners and that's what they know you as. Some people might even call you the man, the myth, the legend. But for everyone young and old, you are the person that people think of when they see the chook pen. Think of the chook pen, they think of the banners, they think of Wayne Leong. We're going to wrap up now, but on behalf of the entire... Oh, yes, sorry.
I just had a thought.
Oh, yeah.
For everyone, all the supporters and that this year, you're going to have some highs and lows and goods and bads.
Yeah.
But there's actually a footy song that's about 10 years old that I reckon's always been, potentially could have been the best song for a commercial
Is
ever.
that the Hoodoo Gurus?
No.
Oh.
That's my team.
No, and I actually think it'd be great for all our fans and supporters to actually go listen to this song and actually think this is what it's all about. And it's by Dennis Carnahan about 10 years ago. It's called You Were There.
You Were There. Okay. That's a challenge to all our fans.
Yeah.
You were there. You've heard it from the man himself.
Let us know in the comments.
Let us know what you think. But look, Wayne, honestly, we know you've been asked to do a lot of these things. So on behalf of the entire RMTV, myself, Luke, Preston, Benny, Theo, thank you for coming out here this evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending this time and giving us an insight into the man you are. I was going to ask you one more question, but you beat me to it and answered it earlier. You think the Chooks are going to finish about 7th or 8th?
Yep.
You're sticking with that after
Yes,
Friday night?
absolutely.
Perfect. Look, Wayne, thank you, mate. Have a safe trip this week to New Zealand. It's a bit of a flight. I know Luke and Presto will be there. Unfortunately, I can't make
Worth
it.
to catch up for a couple drinks.
I reckon have some fun, boys. Thank you. And to all our fans, if you ever see this man at a game, go up and say hello. But Wayne, thank you very much,
Thank
mate.
you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much, Wayne. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for inviting me on.
Roosters!